Welcome to the Leadership and Diversity Series 2018. We have a very special guest coming up. Stay tuned.
Well, welcome to this series of the Leadership and Diversity training video. And today we have a wonderful guest, Chair Phyllis Randall from the Board of Supervisors. And we are so excited to have you.
Well, thank you. I appreciate being here. Thank you very much for having me also.
Yes, I also echo our welcome.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, we've been looking forward to this for some time now.
Thank you.
Yes.
So glad to have you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so if I can,
Sure.
I wanted to have the first question.
Okay.
All right. So, it's a Leadership and Diversity series,
Sure.
and we want to have as much authenticity with our guests as we possibly can. So we have some questions that will help our readers and our listeners
Okay.
better get a grasp of what leads you,
Okay.
what brings you, and give you a sense of fulfillment in your work.
Okay.
All right, so question one. You ready?
I am ready.
All right.
I am ready.
All right. What leadership and diversity principles do you find most meaningful in your personal and/or professional endeavors?
Oh, it's an interesting question. Well, first I would say, I think whenever I have been asked to, or God has put me in a leadership role, first I always pray for strength, wisdom, and courage. And when I talk to the people, I ask them to pray for those same things for me. Pray for my strength, my wisdom, my courage, my patience. So to realize that I did not put myself here, but that maybe God has called on me to do some things, and to remember that at all times.
Yeah.
I would secondly say that to be a leader, you have to be a follower or a servant first. I never ask my staff or people that I work for in the county government to do more than I do. I am the highest elected official in county government. I was elected chair at large, which meant I was elected by the people, not selected by the board. And in doing that, you have to always decide that you're going to do more than them. And so if my staff has 4 events, I will have 5 to do more. That is the first thing. Also to remember that diversity is more than just diversity of race and culture, but diversity is diversity of age, diversity of skill set, diversity of a whole panoply. And so to try to see the diversity in people, whatever it might be. Now, for me, I always first look for the person or the people who's right for the position that I might be putting them in. But I also look to see that that it's whatever, if we can bring a diversity, like I said, age, gender, skill set, experience, geographical differences, race, culture, whatever it might be, to bring that diversity to a board, making sure first the person is qualified for whatever I'm asking them to do.
Right. So I hear servant leadership.
Absolutely.
And then I also hear talent plus.
Talent first.
Yeah, talent
first, and then the diversity. Absolutely. Yes.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you for that.
Wow, that you really hit on some really key points, because I remember, especially in some former leadership roles, that being a servant leader is actually really hard work. It really, really is, because what happens is that it's not about you.
It's not about you.
It's about them.
Absolutely.
And sometimes it's very difficult for people to understand that, especially if they come from, I would quote, the standard types of leadership, as they say back in the day.
Sure.
Okay. So servant leadership is something that it comes from within.
Absolutely.
Okay, and it's not necessarily even a learned skill. It's something that comes from the heart.
Absolutely.
So that really touched. So that actually leads into our second question for you. So how do you position yourself for servant leadership to people who are historically unaccustomed to receiving from professionals who actually share your race and your gender?
That is a very good question, and a very interesting question. Upon my election, I became the first woman of color to be elected to chair a county board in the Commonwealth of Virginia. So it was interesting, because I always look for mentors to have sat in these roles, but being the first one, I didn't have anyone to turn to look at and see, gosh, how does this work, or how do I do this? And so first I was very prayerful about it, but I also realized it's new for me. but it's new for everybody else also.
Right.
And so to try to give everyone else time to get used to me in this role. My predecessor had been in the office for 16 years. And so many of the people who work in county government and who we just live in the county because we're such a fast-growing county had never known anybody but one chair at large of the county. So when I came in, it was a different it was a paradigm shift for everybody.
Yes.
So to give people time to adjust to that was important. But also to remember that, and this is the most important part, that I didn't do this. That there were hundreds of thousands of people who came before me who set a path that allowed me to walk in the path that they set down. Some names I know, most names I don't know, but I do know that they came before me and that they set this path for me. Everything from giving me the right to vote to giving me the right of education as a woman and a woman of color. People who prayed for me, people who pray for me today, really set this path for me. And so in serving, I'm also not just serving the people that I was elected to serve, but trying to do justice to the memory of the people who put me here because of what they have gone through before I ever even knew I was going to run for the office.
Absolutely. And I think that's really important to realize that we don't get in any position on our own.
We do not.
Somebody else had to pave the way for us.
And unfortunately, we may not even know their name,
That's
but
right.
we know that they're there before us, and to remember that at all times.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I would say that's extremely important, because you said two things that resonate with me. One, doing justice to the memory.
Absolutely.
Okay, and then the second, you use that word in higher education that is paramount for real change. You use the word paradigm.
Yes.
Okay, and a paradigm shift, although you honor that legacy, it still starts the clock back at zero. When you come,
That's true.
when
It
you
did.
come in and you got a new
did.
person, your predecessor there was there 16 years.
16 years.
My goodness.
It's a long time.
Yeah.
It's a
So
long time. And
Yeah.
and because it was an election, so when I ran for office, I ran against him. And so there were people who just were not used to him not being in office, but also really not happy
absolutely.
right.
I mean, let's keep it real. They're not happy.
that he was not there.
That's true.
And I had to give them time to mourn that, to mourn the loss of somebody they had worked with, who was their friend, who was their mentor.
Right.
And so, I could have come in with a heavy hand, but it would have done me well or
That's right.
them well.
It never
So
done.
it just never would have. So just to give everybody time to mourn and settle in and to get used to a different voice, to a different way of doing things, but never to disrespect who he was also in the position, and to respect the fact that he was also a servant for a very long time.
Right. Phyllis, I really appreciate your comments about honoring the legacy of your predecessor. But we know that just as important is coming in with your own authenticity.
Sure.
And making sure that people know who you are. So can you speak a bit about how difficult or easy it was to maintain your own sense of authenticity as you broke new ground in local government?
Absolutely. Well, so on election night, I became chair-elect at large up for the county. And it was history making, and it was amazing and exciting. And the next day I had media all over me, and it was just fantastic. But even with all that, I'm still Thaddeus Randall's wife.
Sure.
I'm still Sean and Erin Randall's mother. I'm still Billie Jean's daughter and all of my siblings' sister. I'm still Brian and Sahara's best friend. So none of that changed.
Right.
None of that
Right.
changed.
Absolutely.
And so, when you keep around you the people who've always been around you, people who've been there for you, people that prayed for you, my pastor who I've been with for over 20 years, and the church that I have gone to for over 20 years, it's hard to be something different when everybody knows who you are.
Exactly.
Right? So,
Exactly.
so
That's
all
right.
those people know who they are, and it keeps you grounded,
Yes.
and it keeps you real. So when you walk in your house, no matter, people called you Madam Chair all day, and they've been very differential to you. You walk in your house, you have a room full, a sink full of dishes, and you're like,
This is my house.
And then you take all the
Right.
chair Randall clothes off, go put your sweats on, and wash
Right,
the dishes
right.
because the dishes need to be
That's
washed, and the kids have left, and then
Right.
so I changed my my career path, and I love what I do, and it's an amazing way to be allowed to
Sure.
serve. But I didn't change who I am,
Exactly.
and I honestly believe that if I start to believe that I am bigger than the job, or that I am that I did this myself, then God will take me out of the position, because I cannot serve
Right.
if I believe that I am in any way above the people He's allowed me to serve.
Absolutely.
He will remove me from the position.
Right. And that's authenticity.
Yeah.
It is.
Absolutely.
So our final question I have for you, and it's one that I think that can be really daunting, but how do you feel about being in your position as the Black female in Loudoun County and not having the peers, or being a part of a peer group that helps you during times when it's difficult?
Yeah.
I know that's a difficult question.
It is a difficult question. What I've decided and what I have learned is that although I am the first in Virginia to be elected, there are many people who have been the first in their career field to what they've done.
I can
And
raise
so-
my hand for that.
So yeah,
Yeah,
so you
right,
reach
right.
out to people who have been the first, or who broke new ground, even if it had been in other areas, because it's not so much the job I'm doing, it is being surrounded by people who know what it is to break ground, no
Right,
matter what that
right.
field they may have pushed through in. If they were the first to, if they're a real estate agent, they were the first to sell a certain number of houses, if they were the first. We hired not long ago the first person who was a African American female principal of one of our high schools. She's Tuscarora High School. So there are firsts all around me.
Yes,
And
it
so
is.
I reach out to them, I talk to them.
Okay.
I also do have some mentors in the county who've just been here for a long time. There's a woman named Maddie Lassiter. I don't talk to her often, but I know if I need somebody to pray with or for me, I call Ms. Lassiter. And so there are people in the county who were the first to, people who still live here, who segregated our school system. Right?
Right,
And
right,
so, and they
right.
will talk to me, and I will
Right.
call them, and I have access to the Mary Randolph, to the Gertrude Evans, to the Louetta Watkins, to the Maddie Lassiter, to the Thelma and Alvin Dotson, to the Reggie Sims. I call them, and I speak with them, because they are still here, and they are here for me.
Right,
And
right.
it is difficult, because we sit in the dais with the gavel in your hand at the center of the dais. It's a lot of responsibility. But it's a lot of responsibility that they allowed me to have because of what they've done. And so I reach out to people who have been the first in other areas. And I don't forget that to have fun.
Yes.
I mean, it's an important job. It's also a really fun job. And listen, I get to meet people and go places and do things because of the position that I never would have done
Yeah.
before.
Oh, I'm
and
sure.
I have just a
Right,
ball
right,
doing
right.
it. I get to talk to kids all the time, and it's fantastic. And also I remember that I am the first, but if I don't do something that sets up the generation coming after me to be in these positions, then no matter what I have done, I have failed. Because people came before me and set me up to be here. It is my job to leave the position having set somebody else up to follow me. And no matter what else I've done, no matter the county credit rating, no matter if we land Amazon, no matter what else I've done, if I leave the position not having made it better for someone else and set a path for someone else to come in, I have failed. And so in the end, the people that come behind me will be my legacy.
Right, right. Wow. I was at the last supervisors meeting, and when you had all the young people up there and they were talking, it was such an experience for them.
That's the Youth in Government Day.
Yes,
It's
the
my
Youth in
favorite
Government
day of
Day.
the
It
year.
was so
It's my
good.
favorite
It
day
was
of the
really,
year.
really
Yeah.
good. And they really embraced it, and they got
They
into
do.
it, and it was wonderful.
do.
And you made that statement, and I think that's really a testament to where your heart is. And because we are in positions, and when we're blessed to be in a position of leadership, that it's not just for us.
It's not.
But it's for those that are looking at us.
It's especially for them.
Absolutely,
It's
absolutely.
especially for them,
This is, wow, this has been great.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
This has been wonderful. Thank you for having me here today.
Oh, thank you so much.
But Phyllis, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you
You know,
for having
your
me.
hand and your heart and local government are truly resources for this community.
Thank you.
Okay,
I
and we
appreciate
look
that.
forward to having more leaders in the community on the show.
Absolutely,
And
absolutely.
so we want our listeners to tune in often. And Janet, tell them how to do it.
Well, first of all, thank you again.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Thank you for having
We had a great time. So you can tune in to us on our Facebook page, also on Twitter. But we also want you to provide us some comments and your feedback on this session. Phyllis
Yes.
made some great comments and there was a lot said. So we want to hear from you. So make sure you do that. So again, thank you so much for tuning in, and we will see you next time.